I'm Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football, where we break down all the goals scored in the Premier League. And today, we're doing Arsenal against Ipswich. Ipswich is struggling, and I watched a bit of this game, and one of their main reasons are they just don't gamble of taking chances and shots or just putting the ball in the box or trying to see what will happen. They just are very sort of possession, all this players forward. And it reminded me of something that I'm going to come on to, especially when I do this little clip about Odegaard and why Odegaard's a different, just a different player in my opinion. But we're just going to look at this little first clip here where the ball's getting whipped in. It's in the first couple of minutes of the game. And as it comes flying across, you can see, obviously, this is the guy delivering the pass. Whoop, there's the ball. This is the guy who's looking to try to get on the end of it. But I just don't think he believes in himself. When he's coming through, running through here, his eyes just light up with a chance to just smack the ball on the goal. Or just poke anything. He just doesn't even get on it. I just think there's this lack of belief there that he's even going to get close to it. It's just not really good enough, is it? And that's pretty much the only chance it's had in the whole game. So if that's your scraps and that's what you've got to live on, it's a hard day being a striker for Ipswich. But let's move it on. And we know what I'm going to say as soon as you can see it. Someone's got their hand up in the Premier League telling somebody else what to do. That means in the next 5 seconds, someone's about to score a goal. Okay, so why is this so terrible? Right, this is why. This guy is the guy putting pressure on the ball, right? How dumb is that? When this guy is right next to him and he can go there. Except for this guy is telling him, no, you go with the runner. No, mate, you should be covering the runner and the guy closest to the ball should be going to the football. You shouldn't be telling him to go down there and cover him. You should be telling him to get on that ball and try to win the football. And if he passes it there, you're ready for the run. I mean, this is just awful. It's just basically awful. This guy is one step away from winning the football, except for he's choosing to go with the runner instead. I mean, you can't make up people being this bad, but yes, this is a thing. And of course, what ends up happening as we move it forward, look, he's still not getting close enough to the ball. He's still not gone over there. He could have tackled the guy by now. He was right there, but nope. We decided to track the runner. And by the way, remember, if we did go towards the ball, 2 things would have happened. One, the passing lane would have been really difficult because what he would have had to done is pass it that way, which would have enabled it easier for this defender because he was about there to cut it out, or not be able to get it to him in the first place, or him being offside. So all of the good things would have happened if you had just pressured the ball and didn't listen to your idiot teammate. But you know what? That didn't happen. What ends up happening is they get a little bit of a cross, bosh, off it goes, a little bit of a flick. So we're looking at this little next phase of play right here. After Ipswich gets a little flick on it, now they're starting to pressure the ball. But what I want you to notice is this gap here. Can you see that gap? So they play with a back 5, which I'm never really a fan of. I think it's awful football, really, because you never end up having proper responsibilities, and it's just bad. I think there's only been one team in history in Premier League has ever won with a back 3. I think it was Conte. I think I heard that someone say that this week. But it just isn't good football, because basically what ends up happening is people get lazy because there's always a covering defender, except for when there isn't and they score a goal. And this is one of those examples. Remember, this guy here, I want you to remember this, is not responsible for the guy behind him. This guy is. That's his defensive area, really. That's what he's supposed to be covering. This guy is covering everything in front of him in that zone there. Okay? But we're going to want to watch this in a second as it goes through. Because as this moves out, we get a little bit of pressure on the ball. Let's just jump forward a bit. Again, basic defending is terrible. These 2 players are taking up the same space. If this guy is just stood there, it makes it almost impossible for him to go down there. He's pressuring. He's not providing any real cover. He stood right behind him, which is just terrible. I mean, what are you going to do? If he doesn't tackle him, you're going to tackle him if he beats him. Like, what you can do is you can do that and cover the space at the same time. You can be there. So even if he does beat him, if he goes that way, you can step across. If he goes that way, you can step across. But no, you stand in a flat line. So this guy goes, oh, well, that's easy. I'll just run into the space that you're not actually defending. You see this big gap here? Yeah, we're just going to run into that instead. Now have a little watch, because there's a little bit of movement here. Remember that guy I pointed out? He's covering everything in front of him. In front of him, not responsible for the guy behind him. That old number 3 is supposed to be coming in here and dealing with that player there. Or keeper or someone is supposed to be yelling at one of these 2 to drop back and mark. Both options are acceptable, okay? But if you're in this situation, you have to play what you can see. You can't just go, oh, I'd really like him to come back and defend and do this job. Well, if you want him to do that, somebody on the field needs to be telling him. You can see clearly that this guy is actually defending properly, and he's looking at the player going, right, I'm marking him. Even though he's 2 steps too far forward, he wants to be 2 steps back, a little bit further back here. And in retrospect, if you think about it, as soon as he does that, this guy has to move 2 steps further back, and he probably marks him better. So each little thing has a knock-on effect. Each time someone does something correct, it makes somebody else do something correct. He does something wrong, 2 steps forward. He's 2 more steps forward as well. When I mean forward as well, I don't mean this way. I mean that way. And enable that guy to be free. So as he runs past these 2 players, because of course they were stood next to each other. So if you run past one, you run past both of them. Look, even then, look, this is the covering player of this guy here. He's nowhere near being able to tackle the ball. The covering player is taking himself out of the game. So when this cross is coming over, it's going to end up here. Everyone is going to blame this guy here. Don't disagree. You can, but it's a 50-50 between this guy here as well. Because he is stood there seeing this player's unmarked. Unless he's telling his teammate to get back and mark him, he needs to take responsibility and do it. And he doesn't. So when this little cross comes in, his body shape is wrong, can you see? He's facing his own goal. He's defending. If he touches that, he kicks it in his own net box. So the guy, that's why you defend what's in front of you, not behind you, because you turn, you end up turning and kicking it in your own goal. So if he's defending what's in front of him, he's let Kai Havertz run in and just get a free tap in. Not good enough. I'm going to show you this Odegaard thing, and then that's about it for this video. But this is important because when I was coaching in China many, many years ago, there were some fantastic quality players there. And I mean really top-notch because of the level I was obviously coaching. But I kept asking them, you know, trying to get the translators and understand, why doesn't these really quick, skillful wingers take players on? Why don't they run past players? Because I'm going to show you that probably an example of that again in a second. And they said, well, because if the kids and finally translated it properly, I got a university student to translate the exact thing he was trying to tell me, because none of the actual coaches would tell me the truth. What it really was is if they took the player on and they lost the ball, they wouldn't get to play again. So the ball retention was way more important than them actually trying to create a goal scoring opportunity. And you can see that leaking in all over the world. Like, well, if I lose the ball, I'm not going to get, I have to keep the ball. I can't take that player on. I can't create an opportunity by going with that defender. And that's why I like what Odegaard does here, because he does that. Here he is, and he's not really taking on a player. All he's really doing is just running into this space with the ball to create an opportunity. And the lack of players that do this in the Premier League is amazing. So when you get someone who does it, right, you go, yeah, great. But also the defensive shape of this player here, he's got no idea what to do when this player, or when Odegaard's running. Watch, as he goes forward, look, he's got no idea. He doesn't know if he can tackle him or not. These guys just run away from him. They actually open the space up, because they don't know what to do when you run at them. They're just like, well, I don't know. And it is depending on the areas as well. If you do that a little further out wide, because that's way more structured when you're running out wide at players, it's much, much easier. But when he's inside of that 18-yard box framework, it's completely different in the middle of the field. And he does just run at them, create a bit of havoc. Look, he tries to tackle him, but he doesn't know what he's doing. And I think he ends up getting a shot and completely whiffing it. But other than that, I'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.